The circle of teenagers fell silent as Emma's small body hit the ground inside the pen. She scrambled backward, dust clinging to her worn jeans, heart hammering against her ribs as the massive German shepherd's head snapped toward her. The dogs. Amber eyes locked onto hers, muscles tensing beneath its midnight coat. Time slowed. Tyler Whitford's laughter died in his throat. The phone recording the prank trembled in his hand. Shadow wasn't lunging. The dog everyone feared, the animal that had sent 2 handlers to the hospital, was standing perfectly still, head tilted, studying the terrified girl with an intensity that made the onlookers step back. "Oh my God," whispered Sophia, her manicured nails digging into her arm. "What's happening?" Emma couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Something passed between her and the beast. Recognition. A shared language only the wounded understand. Who would save whom in the 72 hours that followed? The Whitford estate sprawled across 5 acres of prime Connecticut real estate. It's manicured. Lawns and Olympic-sized pool were a world away from the modest cottage where Emma Grant and her mother lived on the property's edge. At 12, Emma had already learned that life distributed its gifts unevenly. While the Whitford children had closets larger than her bedroom, she wore hand-me-downs and dreamed of one day becoming a veterinarian, a dream that seemed as distant as the stars. Margaret Grant had started working as the Whitford's housekeeper. 6 months ago, the sole staff member retained after COVID-19 forced Richard Whitford to downsize household operations. The truth, as Emma overheard the groundskeeper Walter Jenkins mutter, was that Richard considered domestic help expendable, unlike his car collection or wine cellar. Walter, 72, was the only person who treated Emma with genuine kindness. His weathered hands and sun-spotted face told stories of Vietnam that his lips rarely did. Though Emma had spotted a faded photograph of a younger Walter in uniform kneeling beside a military dog he kept in his shed. Richard Whitford embodied old money and cold calculation. His wife Victoria floated through the house like a perfect prop, designer clothes, frozen smile, and empty eyes. Their son Tyler, 15, had already mastered his father's cruel indifference. Their daughter Sophia, 13, always glued to her phone. Occasionally showed glimmers of kindness she tried to hide. Then there was Shadow, the German shepherd bought 3 months ago with papers, but no explanation for his violent temperament. Richard had wanted a trophy guardian. What he got was a volatile ghost of a dog that growled at anyone who came near. "That animal is dangerous," Margaret often warned. But Emma had watched him, his pacing precise, his flinches subtle, his fear barely masked when Richard barked orders across the yard. She saw herself in his eyes. She recognized trauma because she lived with it. That day, Tyler and his friends, all wealthy, careless, and cruel, decided to turn Emma into sport. She was cleaning the pool deck when the teens arrived in luxury cars. Emma kept her head down. Laughter rippled when Tyler mocked her mother. Then someone spotted Shadow's kennel. "He doesn't look scary," one girl sneered. Tyler threw a stick. At the fence, Shadow lunged. They laughed until Tyler had an idea. "Let's test him," he smirked. "See if he attacks the poor girl." Emma tried to leave. "I have to finish sweeping." "That can wait," Tyler said darkly. The boys grabbed her arms. She screamed, but no one listened. Sophia flinched but didn't stop them. Tyler unlocked the gate. "Bring her over." "No, please." The world turned to silence as Emma fell. Shadow's eyes met hers. Then everything changed. Emma's voice rose. As panic set in, she'd seen Shadow's powerful jaws, the intensity in his eyes. "He'll attack me." "Maybe, maybe not." Tyler shrugged. "That's what we're going to find out." Inside his enclosure, Shadow had gone still, watching the commotion with focused attention. His ears were forward, his posture alert rather than aggressive, but Emma was too frightened to notice these subtleties. The boys half carried, half dragged her to the gate. Emma fought with everything she had, tears streaming down her face. "Please don't do this." "Just a quick dist," Tyler insisted, his excitement betraying a cruelty Emma had always sensed beneath his polished exterior. "If starts to attack, we'll pull you right out." With a sudden shove, Emma was propelled through the gate, stumbling to her knees on the hard-packed dirt. Behind her, Tyler quickly secured the gate and the teenagers backed away. Phones raised to record whatever happened next. Fueled narrowed to just Emma and Shadow. The dog stood 15 feet away, his amber eyes fixed on her with unnerving intensity. She could hear her own heart thundering in her ears, feel every breath burning in her lungs. "Nice doggy," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please don't hurt me." Shadow took a step forward, then another. Emma closed her eyes, tears streaming down her cheeks, certain she was about to feel teeth tearing into her flesh. Instead, she felt a warm breath against her hand. Emma's eyes flew open. Shadow stood directly before her, his massive head lowered to the level of her kneeling form. He wasn't growling, hewing showing teeth. He was waiting. Outside the fence, the laughter had stopped. Tyler and his friends watched in confusion as the supposedly vicious dog gently sniffed Emma's outstretched hand. "What the hell?" Tyler muttered. "Why isn't he doing anything?" Emma barely heard him. Something extraordinary was happening between her and Shadow. His eyes, which she'd always seen from a distance as threatening, now revealed a depth of intelligence in what she could only describe as recognition, as if he saw in her something familiar. Trembling fingers, Emma slowly raised her hand. Shadow didn't flinch. Instead, he pushed his muzzle against her palm, allowing her to touch the soft fur between his ears. "That's impossible," one of Tyler's friends said. "My dad said that dog nearly killed Simeon last month." The moment was shattered by an authoritative voice that cut through the air like a whip. "What is going on here?" Richard Whitford strutted across the lawn, his face a mask of fury. Behind him came Walter, moving as quickly as his aged legs would allow, and Margaret, her face drained of color at the sight of her daughter inside the enclosure with Shadow. Emma, Margaret carried, rushing forward, only to be blocked by Richard's outstretched arm. "Don't open that gate," he ordered. "That animal is dangerous." But everyone could see that Shadow was sitting calmly beside Emma now, his posture relaxed, showing none of the aggression he displayed toward every other human who'd approached him. "Mr. Whitford," Walter said, his voice steady despite his obvious concern, "let me get the girl out." Richard's cold eyes swept over Thacini, taking in his son's guilty expression, the phone still recording, and the inexplicable tableau of the girl and the dog. "Tyler, what did you do?" His voice was slow, controlled, but filled with danger. Tyler's arrogance crumbled under his father's scrutiny. "It was just a joke, Dad. The dog wasn't supposed to." "I mean, you thought it would be amusing to endanger someone's life?" Richard cut him off. "She's fine, though," Tyler protested weakly. "Look, the dog isn't even attacking her." Richard turned his attention to Emma and Shadow. His expression shifted from anger to calculation. "Margaret, your daughter appears to have a way with the animal," he said, his tone businesslike. "However, this doesn't change the fact that Shadow has proven himself unpredictable and dangerous. I've already contacted a facility to take him next week. He'll likely be euthanized given his history. The words hit Emma like a physical blow. She looked at Shadow, who remained by her side, calm and dignified. There was nothing unpredictable or dangerous in his demeanor. "Now please don't," she said, finding courage. She didn't know she's possessed. He's not bad. He's just scared. Richard's eyebrow arched in surprise at being addressed so directly by the housekeeper's daughter. "And you're a dog behavior expert now, are you, young lady?" "No, sir," Emma admitted. "But I've watched him. He legit's aggressive when people approach him aggressively. Maybe he just needs someone to be patient with him." Walter stepped forward. "The girl might be right, Mr. Whitford. German Shepherds are intelligent animals. With the right handler, I've already paid 3 professional trainers who have failed," Richard interrupted. "I'm not wasting any more time or money on a lost cause." Emma felt Shadow tense beside her, as if he understood the conversation, determining his fate. Without thinking, she placed her hand on his back, and he immediately relaxed. "I could try," she said, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "I could work with him. Please give me a chance, bear you. Before you?" She couldn't bring herself to say the word. Richard looked at her with a mixture of amusement and irritation. "You a 12-year-old girl with no experience?" "She did just accomplish what your expensive trainers couldn't," Walter pointed out quietly. "The dog is sitting calmly beside her, Mr. Whitford." A tense silence followed. Margaret looked terrified, clearly torn between protecting her daughter and not antagonizing their employer. Tyler and his friends had backed away, their prank forgotten in the face of adult intervention. Finally, Richard spoke. "3 days. Sir," Emma whispered, "You have 3 days to show me this dog can be controlled. If at the end of that time he shows any sign of aggression, any sign at all, he goes to the facility as planned." Richard's cold eyes met Emma's. "And if you fail, you and your mother might need to reconsider your employment situation here." The threat was clear. Emma swallowed hard but nodded. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." Richard turned to Walter. "Get the girl out of there safely. Then I want to see you and Margaret in my study." Immediately he glanced at Tyler and his subdued friends. "As for you, we'll discuss your behavior later." As Richard strode back toward the house, Victoria following without having said a word, Emma felt the weight of what she just committed to. She looked at Shadow, who gazed back at her with those intelligentes. "It's going to be okay," she whispered. To him, not sure if she was trying to convince the dog or herself. "We have 3 days to change their minds. 3 days to save Shadow's life and perhaps her own future at Whitford Estate." That night, Emma couldn't sleep. The events of the day replayed in her mind as she lay on her narrow bed in the cottage she shared with her mother. The weight of Richard Whitford's ultimatum pressed down on her. 3 days to tame a dog everyone believed was dangerous or lose everything. Through the window she could see Shadow's enclosure, a dark silhouette against the moonlit lawn. "What were you thinking?" her mother had asked after returning from Richard's study, her voice quavering between anger and fear. "That dog is not a pet, Emma. He's hurt people." "He didn't hurt me," Emma had insisted. "He was gentle, Mom. I think he's just scared." Margaret had shaken her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "Mr. Whitford made it very clear. If that dog shows any aggression after your 3 days, we're out of a job in a home." Now in the quiet darkness, Emma slipped out of bed and padded to her small desk. She pulled out her mother's ancient laptop, a hand-me-down from the Whitfords when they upgraded, and opened a browser window. The Wi-Fi signal was weak this far from the main house, but she managed to connect. "German Shepherd training," she typed, determined to learn everything she could before morning. Hours passed as Emma absorbed information about positive reinforcement, behavioral cues, and the breed's natural instincts. German Shepherds, she learned, were incredibly intelligent, loyal, and protective, but they needed clear leadership and consistent training. One article mentioned that many showed aggression out of fear or past trauma rather than inherent viciousness. As dawn broke, Emma's eyes burned with exhaustion, but her mind buzzed with strategies. She changed into jeans and a t-shirt, carefully folded her notes into her pocket, and slipped out of the cottage while her mother still slept. The morning air was cool, birds just beginning their chorus as Emma approached Shadow's enclosure. The German Shepherd was already awake, alert at the fence as she drew near. Unlike yesterday, when fear had clouded her perception, Emma now noticed details. The way his ears moved forward with interest rather than flattening in aggression. How his tail remained neutral instead of tucked in fear or raised in dominance. "Good morning, Shadow," she said softly, stopping a few feet from the fence. "I'm going to help you, but you need to help him too." "Okay." The dog tilted his head, watching her with those intelligent umber eyes. Emma slowly reached into her pocket and withdrew a piece of chicken she'd saved from last night's dinner. Shadow's nose twitched, his attention focused on her hand. "Sit," Emma said clearly, holding the treat where he could see it. Shadow remained standing, though his eyes tracked her every movement. "That's okay," Emma murmured. "We'll learn together." She placed the treat on the ground just outside the fence where Shadow could smell but no treat it. Then she demonstrated, sitting down on the grass herself. "Sit," she repeated. To her amazement, Shadow lowered his hindquarters, maintaining eye contact. Emma's heart leaped. She quickly pushed the treat under Thiefen's, which Shadow accepted with gentle precision. "Good boy," she exclaimed, careful to keep her voice calm despite her excitement. "Well, I'll be damned." Emma startled at the gruff voice behind her. Walter Jenkins stood a few yards away, work gloves in hand, observing with undisguised interest. "Mr. Jenkins, I can see what you're doing," he interrupted. But there was no admonishment in his tone. "And I'm impressed. That dog hasn't responded to anyone like that since he arrived." Emma brushed grass from her jeans as she stood. "I read that German Shepherds are really smart. They can learn commands quickly if you're patient." Walter nodded, his weathered face solemn. "They're one of the smartest breeds used extensively in police work, search and rescue, military operations." He paused, studying Shadow with a knowing eye. "This one has training. I'd bet my pension on it." "How can you tell?" Emma asked. "The way he moves, how he observes. That's no ordinary pet someone abandoned." Walter moved closer, keeping a respectful distance from the fence. "Mind if I watch you work with him a bit?" Emma nodded, grateful for an adult who didn't immediately dismiss her efforts. She turned back to Shadow, who remained sitting attentively. "Lie down," she commanded gently, demonstrating by patting the ground. Shadow hesitated, then lowered himself to his belly. Emma rewarded him with another small piece of chicken, her confidence growing. For the next hour, Emma worked through basic commands: sit, stay, come. While Walter observed quietly, Shadow responded with increasing responsiveness, performing each command with a precision that seemed to confirm Walter's suspicions about prior training. "That's enough for now," Walter finally said. "Don't want to overwhelm him on the first day or yourself." Emma nodded, giving Shadow a final treat and praise before stepping back from the fence. "Mr. Jenkins, do you think I can really do this? Make him safe enough for Mr. Whitford?" Walter's eyes crinkled at the corners, though his expression remained serious. "I think you're already doing something remarkable, Emma, but Richard Whitford isn't. Easily impressed, and his son might not want you to succeed." "Because of yesterday?" "Because people like that don't like to be proven wrong." Walter rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Meet me at my tool shed after breakfast. I might have something that could help you." Emma hurried back to the cottage, her mind racing with possibilities. Her mother was in the kitchen preparing for another day of work. Worry etched on her face. "Where were you?" Margaret demanded. "I was about to come looking." "I was with Shadow, Mom. He's responding to comments already." Margaret closed her eyes briefly. "Emma, honey, I know you want to help this dog, but I'm terrified." If this doesn't work, it will, Emma insisted, though doubt crept at the edges of her certainty. I promised Dot after helping her mother with breakfast service at the main house, during which the Whitfords barely acknowledged her existence. Emma slipped away to Walter's tool shed as instructed. The small wooden structure smelled of motor oil and freshly cut grass. Walter was inside, rummaging through a battered footlocker in the corner. He looked up when Emma entered, nodding and greeting. "Close the door," he said, his voice lower than usual. "What I'm about to show you needs to stay between us." Curiosity piqued. Emma obeyed. Walter pulled something from the footlocker, a faded photograph and a plastic sleeve. He handed it to her carefully, as if passing along something precious. The image showed a younger Walter in military uniform kneeling beside a German shepherd wearing a tactical vest. Both man and dog looked battle-ready, their posture alert against a backdrop of dusty tents and military vehicles. "That's Rex," Walter said, his voice softening with memory. "My partner in Vietnam. Best damn canine soldier in our unit." Emma studied the photograph with new understanding. "You were a dog handler." "Dog handler, yes, but that's not quite right for what we did. We were partners, Rex and I equals in the field." Walter tapped the image. "That dog saved my life more times than I can count. Could detect tripwires, ambushes, hidden enemies, things no human could sense." He took the photograph back, handling it with reverence before returning it to the footlocker. "I've been watching Shadow since he arrived. The way he moves, how he observes. Everything. He reminds me of the military dogs I knew." Emma's eyes widened. "You think Shadow was a military dog or police or some kind of service animal? His behavior isn't random aggression. It's trained vigilance that's been twisted by something." Walter straightened, wincing slightly at the effort. "I think he's suffering from what we used to call shell shock. PTSD, they call it now." The revelation hit Emma like a thunderbolt. It made perfect sense. Shadow's hypervigilance, his distrust of strangers, his immediate bond with her, perhaps recognizing a fellow wounded soul. "If you're right," she said slowly, "how do we help him?" Walter smiled, a rare sight that transformed his stern features. "That is the right question. Not how to train him, but how to help him heal." He reached back into the footlocker and pulled out a worn leather collar. This was Rex's. "I've kept it all these years, Dot. It might help Shadow remember he's a working dog, not just a pet or guard animal." Emma accepted the collar reverently. "Are you sure?" "It seems really important to you." "It is," Walter acknowledged. Booty think Rex would approve of its new owner. Armed with this new understanding and Walter's gift, Emma approached Shadow's enclosure with renewed purpose. The dog greeted her with alert interest, nothing like the aggression he reportedly showed others. Carefully, Emma entered the enclosure for the first time since yesterday's forced encounter. Shadow remained calm, watching her movements with intelligent eyes. She approached slowly, speaking in a gentle, even tone. "I think I understand you better now," she told him, holding out Rex's collar for him to sniff. "You're not just a pet, are you? You had a job, a purpose." Shadow's nostrils flared as he investigated the leather, perhaps detecting traces of another working dog from long ago. To Emma's amazement, he lowered his head as if inviting her to put the collar on him. With trembling fingers, she fastened it around his neck, adjusting it to fit comfortably. Shadow stood perfectly still during the process, his behavior that of a professional accepting equipment rather than a pet receiving an accessory. "Good boy," Emma whispered, fighting back unexpected tears. Something profound was happening between them, a recognition, an agreement. She was offering him respect and understanding. He was offering trust and partnership. Emma. The sharp voice shattered the moment. Tyler Whitford stood outside the enclosure, his expression a mixture of disbelief and irritation. "What are you doing in there?" Shadow immediately tensed, a low growl rumbling in his chest as he moved slightly in front of Emma, positioning himself between her and the perceived threat. "It's okay," Emma murmured to Shadow, placing a calming hand on his back. "To Tyler," she said. "I'm training him like your father." "Said I could?" Tyler snorted. "Training? You don't know the first thing about training a dog like this." "Maybe not," Emma admitted. "But I'm learning, and he's responding." "Yeah, right. My dad says he's going to get put down anyway." "This is just giving you false hope." Tyler's eyes narrowed. "You got lucky yesterday, that's all." Shadow's growl deepened, sensing Emma's discomfort. She maintained her calming touch, keeping her voice steady. "Why are you here, Tyler?" The boy shifted, suddenly seeming younger than his 15 years. "My dad sent Emmy to apologize for yesterday," he muttered, clearly hating every word. "He says what we did was unacceptable behavior, unbecoming of the Whitford name." The rehearsed phrase fell flat from his reluctant lips. "You could have gotten killed," Emma said quietly. "But I didn't," Tyler shot back defensively. "The dog didn't do anything." "That doesn't make it okay." Tyler's face flushed. "Whatever. Apology. Delivered. Good luck with your project." He turned to leave, then paused. "Just so you know, my dad's already called someone to evaluate the dog at the end of your 3 days. Some expert who will probably just confirm what everyone already knows. That animal is dangerous and needs to be put down." After Tyler stormed off, Emma sank to her knees beside Shadow, her hand still resting on his solid frame. "We'll prove him wrong," she promised him somehow. Later that afternoon, as Emma continued working with Shadow on more advanced commands, she became aware of being watched. Glancing toward the main house, she spotted Sophia Whitford observing from a second-story window. Unlike Tyler's open hostility, Sophia's expression held something different. Curiosity, perhaps even a hint of admiration. When their eyes met, Sophia didn't immediately turn away. Instead, she raised her hand in a tentative wave. Emma, surprised, waved back. A moment later, Sophia disappeared from the window. By evening, exhaustion weighed on Emma's shoulders, but satisfaction bloomed in her chest. Shadow had responded to every command with increasing confidence, even allowing her to lead him on a short walk around his enclosure on a makeshift leash. As she prepared to leave him for the night, a soft voice called her name. Emma turned to find Sophia approaching cautiously, keeping a safe distance from Shadow's fence. "Hi," Sophia said, her usual cool demeanor replaced by something more hesitant. "I've been watching you with him. It's impressive." Emma blinked in surprise at the unexpected compliment. "Thanks. He's really smart." "I wanted to say I'm sorry about yesterday," Sophia continued, her voice dropping. "I should have tried harder to stop Tyler." "Why didn't you?" Emma asked, not accusingly, but with genuine curiosity. Sophia's gaze dropped to her designer shoes. "It's complicated. Tyler can make life difficult. When he wants to." She glanced up at Shadow, who was watching their interaction with alert interest. "Is it true what my father says, that he attacked someone?" Emma thought about Walter's theory. "I think there's more to his story than what we know. He doesn't seem vicious to me, just scared and misunderstood." Something flickered across Sophia's face. Recognition, perhaps. "I should go before my mother sees me talking to you," but she hesitated, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a small book. "I found this in the library. It's about German shepherds. Maybe it could help." She placed the book in the ground and backed away. "Good luck, Emma." As Sophia disappeared back toward the house, Emma felt a small spark of hope. Maybe she wasn't completely alone in this challenge after all. Night fell over Whitford Estate, the first of Emma's 3 days drawing to a close. In her small bedroom, she pored over Sophia's book by flashlight, absorbing every detail about the breed's history, psychology, and training methods. Outside, a full moon illuminated Shadow's enclosure, where the German Shepherd sat alert as if standing guard over something precious. One day down, 2 to go. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight Emma allowed herself to believe in possibilities. Dawn broke over Whitford Estate with a palette of pinks and golds, the early summer air carrying the scent of freshly cut grass and dew-dampened earth. Emma had slept fitfully, her dreams filled with running dogs and ticking clocks. She rose before her alarm, eager to begin her second day with Shadow. Margaret watched her daughter with worried eyes over a hasty breakfast off toast and jam. "Mr. Whitford asked about your progress when I brought his coffee this morning," she said, trying to keep her voice neutral. Emma looked up, a mixture of hope and anxiety crossing her face. "What did you tell him?" "I said you were working hard and that the dog seemed to be responding." Margaret laid her hand over her daughter's. "Emma, honey, I need you to understand something. Even if you do everything right, Mr. or Whitford might still decide to send that dog away." Emma pulled her hand back. "That's not fair." "Life at Whitford Estate isn't about fairness," Margaret said softly. "I just don't want your heart broken when if Emma corrected. If it doesn't work out," she stood, gathering her notes and the book Sophia had given her. "But it will, Mom. I know it will." The morning sun had barely cleared the trees when Emma reached Shadow's enclosure. To her surprise, Walter was already there, watching the German Shepherd with thoughtful eyes. He nodded in greeting as she approached. "Thought he'd get an early start," he explained, noting her curious expression. "Been thinking about your friend here all night." Shadow stood at attention inside his fence, Rex's old collar a striking contrast against his dark fur. His posture held none of the agitation Emma had observed in her first days at the estate. Instead, he exuded a calm alertness, his gaze moving between Emma and Walter with intelligent assessment. "I've been thinking," Walter continued, "if we're right about his background, simple commands won't be enough to impress Whitford. We need to show his real capabilities." Emma nodded, understanding immediately. "Like what he was trained to do before." "Exactly." Walter pulled something from his pocket, a small pouch that emitted a faint herbal scent. "This contains traces of materials military. Dogs are trained to detect. If Shadow has that background, he might still remember his training." For the next 2 hours, Emma worked with Shadow under Walter's guidance. They began with simple detection exercises, hiding the pouch and commanding Shadow to seek. To their amazement, the dog responded with immediate focus, finding the hidden item within seconds and indicating his discovery with a precise paw motion, a trained response that confirmed Walter's suspicions. "I knew it," the old man murmured, watching Shadow's performance with growing certainty. "This dog had special ed training. Expensive training." They progressed to more complex exercises, incorporate tinkums for protection, threat assessment, and controlled aggression, always ensuring Shadow understood the difference between practice and real danger. Throughout it all, the German Shepherd displayed a level of discipline and intelligence that exceeded Emma's wildest expectations. "He's remembering," she whispered to Walter as Shadow performed a flawless perimeter check of his enclosure. "It's like watching him come alive again." Walter nodded, uncharacteristic unchum, tightening his weathered features. "Military dogs are partners, not just tools."